This video is not gonna be containing any kind of fancy b-roll or any kind of cool shots. It perhaps will be a little bit boring. It's just gonna be me talking some BS to new photographers, people who want to take this seriously and want to improve. It's not even gonna contain any jokes unless I figure out how to be funny in the next 10 minutes, which is highly unlikely. So this is gonna be advised on how to improve your photography aimed at those who are perhaps new to the art form, but it kind of applies at every level. But it especially applies if you are new and if you want to take the artistic side of photography seriously and you want to improve. Then keep watching this video. Okay, so here's the deal. Being a good photographer is basically an illusion. And what I mean by that is if you actually saw every single photo that even the best photographers ever took, you would think that there are no good photographers at all. Because every photographer, no matter how good they are or how talented they are, every photographer takes bad photos. Therefore, one of the most important skills in photography is not just how to take good photos, but is how to limit the exposure of your bad photos. Now, there's a great conflict when we first start photography, especially in today's age, because social media is very prevalent and it's very exciting when you start a new hobby. So of course, you're gonna wanna share some of your first photos. Now, perhaps if you don't have previous experience in the field of photography or art or come from any related field, you're gonna suck for a while, even if you don't know it and even if you have a massive amount of talent. Now, this is something that the greats from the past have been able to hide, simply because the only way to publish your work to a wide audience in the past was to basically release photo books, and there's no reason to put your low quality work in a photo book. But in today's age, what you can do is find your favorite modern photographer's Instagram profile, and if they haven't deleted their early work, just keep scrolling down to the very beginnings of their accounts, and if they kept their initial early work up, what you will find almost every time is that it is really not that impressive in quality. And it kind of proves my point that it doesn't matter how much talent you have. It takes a while to develop that talent. And oftentimes what you'll find is that seeing those low quality initial works from even your favorites can kind of almost taint their legacy. It makes them more mortal and more, approachable in a way. But if you never see those initial lower quality pieces of work, the same photographer will seem a lot more legendary in comparison, as if they were born with the ability to take good photos. It usually takes about at least 6 months, usually 1 or 2 years to start getting good. You might get some lucky shots here and there, but even if you do, you'll probably screw those up in the editing process. Now, this is for most people, of course. You may be some wonder kid and you might have it all figured out, but in that case, I don't think I have anything to give to you. So don't subscribe to my channel if you are a wonder kid. Okay, so you might know where this is going already. I'm saying that curation of your photography is very important, and especially in the beginning. There's many times when I see a nice photo on social media, for example, or Reddit or whatever, and then I look into that photographer, their other body of work, and I don't end up following them for simply the reason, not that I don't like the first photo. I might love the first photo that I initially saw and got me interested in them, but the rest of their work is just not up to the same standard. And especially in the beginning, can be easy to impress yourself. Even just getting a nice camera can improve the quality of your photos. If you're coming from, a phone previously, that you'll be very impressed by basically nothing, but it takes a while to train your eye. The new camera thing is just one example. The truth is that when you are just starting out, you will be very easily impressed by many things. But being too easily impressed is kind of the enemy of growth, because the only way to improve is to be very critical of your own work. So you kind of have to get over that phase in order to really get to the next level. I guess what I'm trying to say, the point that I'm trying to get to, is that if you're not happy with the level of photography that you're at currently, what you have to do is basically wipe almost everything. Every single photo that you've ever taken and put up on social media or on your Instagram page or your Twitter or whatever, your portfolio page, lose all of those. Choose maybe 1 or 2, maybe 5 at most of your favorites, the absolute best photos, and only keep those up. Now, what you do is you will never put any photo that is below that standard ever up on your portfolio or your page or your Instagram or whatever. Now, it is best if you only choose one or two. Try to pick the very best photos, try to be very objective about it. There's usually a couple of photos that are, clearly above the rest of your work. So take those photos, and you're never gonna be adding more photos if you cannot reach the same or a higher standard than those photos are at. And if you do this, you kind of rewire your brain to be more critical of everything. You will no longer be happy with mediocrity. You will only be happy reaching the highest standard that you once reached by some stroke of luck. You accidentally took a good photo, and then you'll not be satisfied with anything less. Now, this might result in you having to go out to shoot for hours and for days, for months, and get no results at all. But you have to train yourself to be happy with the entire process of photography, the entire process of learning how to get better, and not being satisfied with mediocrity anymore. And when you have this very strict rule to yourself that you will not be satisfied with any lower standard than a certain set standard that you've reached once before, you will start coming up with ways to consistently get to that level. It may take months, like I said, but eventually you will get there. You'll figure something out in the process that allows you to reach a higher standard. And then the trick is to simply keep doing this as many times as your ambition allows you to. Now, obviously, the higher your level gets, the harder you have to work to consistently reach that level. And at a certain point, there's probably going to be a talent cap or, a budget cap. You won't be able to increase that limit. But for most people, they will reach that before, some sort of a physical limit comes into play. It's just a way you have to kind of rewire your brain to reject everything that is below a certain standard. You have to kind of give up the idea that you'll have to be posting photos every day on Instagram just for content or whatever. I mean, it really depends on your goals. It depends on what you want to achieve with this art form. If you're a more experienced photographer, for example, you've been doing this for 5 years, then it's probably a bit too extreme to cut down to only like 1 or 2 photos in your portfolio. In that case, the number can obviously be higher, but it's still always a good idea to occasionally go through your portfolio or even your social media profiles and just delete the weakest ones at the very least. But what I mean is, if you are stuck at a certain level, this is what you have to do. To sum it up, take your entire portfolio, keep one of the few best ones, give yourself a strict rule, bang your head against the wall for a month or 2 or 3 or a year or 2 until you consistently figure out how to get to that level, no matter how hard it is or what it takes. And then once you get to that level, you want to improve more, do it again. Do it all over again. Eventually, I'm sure you'll be happy with the level you're at, and you can relax these rules a bit. You can start being more experimental, and once your eye has trained to a point, obviously it's not a strict rule. Okay, just quickly before I go, I do have to kind of clarify something. Like, this does seem a little bit too hardcore to keep doing over and over again, because then you just won't allow yourself to take any photos, which is why I kind of aimed this mostly at beginner levels, because when you are just starting out, the level you can improve is massive. There's so much room for improvement that a mindset shift like this can improve you a lot faster than you otherwise might expect. Giving yourself such a high standard may seem unrealistic and almost impossible at first, but if you stick to the rule, you will either be forced to give up the rule and kind of fail, or you will be forced to figure out a way to come out with photos that you are happy with. And you'll be amazed what you can do if you actually stick to it and force yourself to figure things out. And I guess that is the underlying point. And I think if you keep doing this, you will eventually become the best photographer of all time, but that is obviously easier said than done. Hopefully I've conveyed the point in a way that it makes any kind of sense. I hope this is not too rambly. Please let me know what you thought of this video, and thanks for watching. Hopefully it made some sense. Bye bye.